The government still denies the genetic impact of radioactive substances. A group of scientists analyzed the soil in the desert of New Mexico to determine whether the area was safe. A man was attacked. The man grabbed the mouthpiece and attacked them. After killing the entire team, the psychopath tied the body to his car. Then he drove his victim's body on the road. A few kilometers away, when Tom was resting after noon, he heard something outside, so he went out to check. He pulled up his gun and checked if there were any invaders in his area, but he didn't find anything, so he decided to go home. Tom has recently covered up the death of a young woman. The woman was on her way to California, and now Tom is trying to get rid of her belongings. Suddenly, he heard the horn and went out to meet a family. The family stopped to refuel and planned to continue to Santiago. When the couple and the refueling station waiter were talking, their children went to the bathroom. At the same time, the family's dog ran out of the tow truck and broke into the convenience store. At this time, the dog passed by and found the woman's handbag and Tom's belongings. At this time, Tom appeared, and the young woman took her dog back to the tow truck. The family didn't have time to continue their journey. The refueling station waiter walked over and talked to Carter. He suggested that he turn left a few kilometers ahead and take a dirt road. According to him, this road is the way to Santiago, which can save the family a few hours. When they arrived at Tom's address, Anna took out a map to figure out where she was, and Carter didn't notice that there was a line of police on the middle of the road. After passing the police, the driver lost control of the vehicle. The car was almost overturned. Fortunately, he held the steering wheel, but eventually hit a huge rock. After the accident, the passengers came out of the car in horror. They wanted to figure out what happened, but they found out for some reason that all the tires were broken. Carter confirmed that his family was fine and tried to call a tow truck, but they were in the middle of the desert. Without a cell phone signal, they saw their dog running away. Jack immediately went after him. Anna tried to calm her husband down, and Carl made it clear from the beginning that he didn't want to take part in this trip. When Carter was thinking about why the tires were broken, he concluded that it was caused by overheating. He tried to call a tow truck, but he couldn't get through. He realized that he had to go to the other side of the mountain to find a cell phone signal. Before leaving, Carter set up a tent for his family and gave his son a gun. Let him protect his mother and sisters when he left. At this time, Carter had a new plan. He decided to go back to the gas station, and his son-in-law went over the mountain to try to get a cell phone signal. However, Carl refused to accept the gun to protect himself. He said he didn't need a weapon to ask for help. He also claimed that he was a pacifist. Carter's goal was to pick up Tom's car and pick up his family before dark, so he asked Jack to take care of everyone when he left. Before leaving, Carter and his family prayed together. Then he and Carl split up. The family did not realize that a group of mutants were hiding in the mountains, looking far away at them, ready to launch an attack. While waiting for help, Anna prepared food for the children. Anna sighed. Just when the family was going to celebrate their mother's birthday, such an accident happened. Vera was angry at being trapped in a desolate place. She said that if they followed the directions on the map, now they should have arrived in California. At this time, Jack noticed that the dog was very anxious, but he didn't know why. When Vera opened the door, the beauty ran out again. Jack was worried about a few dogs again and went after her. As a result, he got lost in the rocks along the way. During the search, this young man heard some of the dog sounds. He realized that the beauty was in trouble. Even though he was scared, he decided to keep looking. He also picked up a stone to prevent himself from being attacked. However, a few meters ahead, Jack found that the dog's body was covered in blood, obviously dead. When trying to figure out the cause of the dog's death, the young man found that his abdomen was completely torn. The internal organs were also hollowed out. The scene in front of him made him terrified. He turned around and ran back to the tow truck, but he accidentally fell off a rock. After a few minutes, Judy found this young man's body. I was trying to wake him up, but I was interrupted by Google. At the same time, Carl kept walking until he reached the other side of the mountain. He found a pile of abandoned vehicles. This discovery surprised him, so he decided to go and see for himself. He saw that the bodies of those cars were covered in blood, obviously been there for a long time. Although it was a car wreck in front of him, Carl didn't care. He took Teddy Bear, which he found in one of the cars, quietly through the area of this pile of vehicles. At dusk, Carter finally arrived at the gas station. He walked into the convenience store to look for Tom, but he didn't find anyone. He saw a phone. He wanted to use it to ask for help, but he found the phone was broken, so he kept looking for the waiter. When he found the bag, Carter decided to look for it. He found an ear. It belongs to the young woman who was attacked by Tom. These things used to be his. At that moment, he realized that something was wrong. He took out his gun and prepared to kill himself when necessary. After entering Tom's room, he found a lot of old newspapers. It reported the destruction caused by nuclear weapons during the nuclear test. At that time, a few miners refused to leave their land due to exposure to radioactive substances. Their children were all awake when they were born. Many years later, countless tourists disappeared in the desert. The police couldn't find them. Out of concern for his family, Carter went to the yard. He went into Tom's car. When he found the key to start the car, he ran into the gas station waiter in the bathroom. The other party was holding a bottle of whiskey. Carter began to question him, but Tom didn't answer. Instead, he shot his head with his own gun. He couldn't bear the guilt of the crimes he committed. Carter was confused. He wanted to figure out what happened. Suddenly, he heard countless voices around him. In order to prevent the enemy from approaching, he shot around. Then he went back to the car, ready to drive away. However, before Carter started the car, the man hiding in the back seat started an attack, hit his head against the windshield. While Carter was dizzy, Jupiter used a tow truck to drag him into a cave. That's the entrance to the mutants' village. At the same time, deep in the desert, Anna and her daughters went out to look for Jack, because he's been missing for hours. Heard his mother's voice. The young man woke up. Ruby noticed that there were other people nearby, and left. Back to the tow truck. Anna cleaned the wound on her son's head. Jack decided to keep the beauty's death a secret, to avoid scaring his mother and sisters. At this time, he heard the beast calling, so he picked up his father's gun, went out to see what was going on. Anna was worried, wanted to go with him, but Jack told her and her sister to stay in the tow truck. However, when the young man went outside, he found that the barking was to inform his brother-in-law that he was back. Carter walked a long way, finally returned. Ruby relaxed, came out of the tow truck to hug her husband. Carter told her he found a huge hole. It's full of old cars. But the bad news is, he couldn't get through the phone, because even if he climbed over those mountains, didn't find a signal to talk. At this time, Jack said he was very worried about his father. Carter said, if Carter hadn't come back before midnight, the whole family went out to find him. At the same time, Anna and Vera decided to take a nap, but Jack was worried about his family's safety, couldn't sleep at all. Suddenly, the young man found that the beast that was originally tied outside the tow truck had run away, so go out to look for it. At this time, Pluto broke into the tow truck and attacked Vera. Jack was looking for his dog. He heard some people's voices, so he ran back to warn his family. He said there were other people on the other side of the mountain. However, in the face of his brother's despair, Pluto told him he was too worried, because they were in a desolate place. It's impossible for anyone to live there. In order to prove that he was telling the truth, Jack decided to tell him. He found the beauty dead, and the abdomen was broken. Hearing this, Kerr began to believe what the mainland said was true, so go out and check the situation. At this time, Anna was awakened by her husband's screams. Carter was tied to a tree near the family camp. Those mutants were still alive when he was alive. It ignited his body. Jack realized that his father was in danger. He rushed over to save him. Carter grabbed the fire extinguisher to put out the fire. He wanted to save his father-in-law. At this time, she appeared. He swallowed the two birds locked in the cage in the tow truck, then attacked Pluto, ordered him to let go of the girl. However, Pluto did not obey the order of the loser. Instead, he started a fight. He began to smash everything he touched. Anna screamed desperately. Anna rushed over to help, but when he ran to the side of the tow truck, he saw one of the monsters holding his child, so he smashed the monster with a pan. But the monster still stopped him, and he pointed his gun at Kathleen. He saw his child in danger. Pluto helped, decided not to resist. Fortunately, Anna appeared in time. I was about to smash the monster's head with a stone. She pointed his gun at him and pulled the trigger. At this time, Carl and Jack were carrying Carter's body. He was not rescued in time. When he heard the gunshot, the two immediately ran back to the tow truck, but they still couldn't save Pluto in time. When he saw his mother being killed, young Kathleen was angry, stabbed the monster's leg with a screwdriver. She was angry, hit Pluto's head. Vera screamed in despair. He just witnessed all the women in the house being brutally killed. Seeing Jack and Carl close, those strange monsters decided to run away, because she found that his ammunition had run out. Carl walked into the tow truck, saw his wife's body lying on the ground. He was furious. He immediately went to see if his daughter was okay, but found that the criminal had taken her away. Google is watching the family through binoculars, didn't notice the beast was quietly approaching. The beast bit the monster's neck. Carl found that his mother-in-law was still alive, trying to stop him, but soon realized that there was no way back, so he tried his best to support Anna, waiting for her to give up. After his mother died, Jack took up his gun, ready to chase the criminals who destroyed his family, but Carl stopped him, because he knew this young man alone could not deal with those monsters. At this time, survivors heard the sound of a monster approaching. Vera panicked. Jack was ready to shoot. Heard the sound getting closer and closer. He pulled the trigger. Carl went out to check the situation. Found a man with a radio outside. Soon realized it was a beast. Brought this gift to the owner. Through this strange walkie-talkie, Carl successfully got in touch with the monsters. Ordered them to return their daughter. But he only heard the cry of Catherine. Found that his child was still alive. Carl decided to go after him. Also let his dog help to show the hiding place of the enemy. On the way, he found Guga's bloodstain. Although Guga survived the beast's attack, but was seriously injured. After entering the minefield, Carl saw countless photos hanging on the tombstone. He continued to walk into the cave, hoping to find the monsters that took away his daughter. A few minutes later, he arrived at the other end of the cave. Found the village. It's full of shabby houses. Those robots live there. Many years ago, this village is the target of the nuclear test. Until recently, this place is still considered a dangerous area. Carl carefully passed through the seemingly abandoned area, heard the cry of his daughter, found Catherine alone, was left in the bedroom of one of the rooms. Knew the child was still alive. He let his guard down, tried to break into the house, but the plan was interrupted. A monster suddenly appeared. Carl had to hide with his dog. As soon as the monster left, he hid the beast in a car, then broke into the house to save Catherine. On the way to the bedroom, Carl saw his aunt. This is an adult woman, never had a child of her own, so she spends all day with the doll, trying to fulfill her wish to build a family. After holding her daughter, Carl quietly touched the door. As a result, his aunt caught him. His aunt immediately got up, wanted to take the child back. Carl was knocked out. When he woke up, found himself locked in a suitcase. There were several pieces of human remains around. Realized that he was in great trouble. Carl desperately tried to escape. A few minutes later, he finally opened the box. Also found his baseball bat. At this time, Carl sped up his search for his daughter. He plans to leave as soon as possible. This is a terrible place. During the search, he met a man with a serious physical condition. He can't stand up at all, sit on a wheelchair all his life. When Carl asked about Catherine's whereabouts, Chris said he didn't know where she was. Still laughing. At this time, Pluto broke in. The monster entered the house and began to destroy it. Carl tried to escape to the second floor, but was pulled back by the other party. However, just when Pluto was going to get rid of this invader, the beast suddenly attacked him. A battle between man and beast began. Carl hid in the bathroom. In order to prevent the monster from breaking in, he dragged the bathtub to the front of the door, set up an attack position. But what surprised him was, Pluto didn't plan to open the door at all. After beating the dog, this lunatic broke through the wall and caught Carl. Pluto threw Carl aside, pick up the mouthpiece and kill him. But Carl's body was smaller and more flexible than the opponent. Avoid the attack. In the fight, Pluto was angry. The action also became out of control. At this time, Carl found a chance to fight back. With a sharp object, stabbed the monster in the abdomen. Even so, Pluto is still standing. After pulling out the spikes on his body, he attacked Carl. Carl fell to the ground. Sudden dizziness. Became the target of the next attack. After beating Carl, Pluto didn't get rid of him at once. I'm going to torture him. Cut off a few of his fingers with an axe. Carl was scared. Hide under the table. Pluto took the opportunity to give him the last blow. Threaten him as best he can. Chris saw that his brother was going to kill another victim. While watching this slaughter, a smile came out. But Carl didn't give in. He picked up a Phillips knife, stabbed through Pluto's feet. The monster screamed in pain. Carl took the opportunity to stab him in the neck with a flagpole. Then pick up the axe. The Phillips cut Pluto's body in half, gave him a fatal blow. After killing Chris, Carl walked out of the house, fiercely attacking all the mutants he met. Chris was extremely weak, and didn't get hit by Carl. He witnessed this slaughter. Contact She. Order him to kill that baby. However, the order was just given. The monster was attacked by the beast. The beast survived the fight with Pluto. At this moment, he is looking forward to taking revenge on these monsters. She heard the news of his brother. He picked up a knife and wanted to kill Pluto. He ordered Ruby to go away. Ruby was worried about the fate of Chris. Tried to stop She from getting close, but failed to convince him to let go of this child. At the same time, Carl continued to look for his daughter. Walked into an infirmary, found two children playing on the ground. The scene in front of him scared him, so he ran away. She found that Ruby had replaced Pluto with a pig. This is the end of Chris. The girl fled into the mountains. Carl followed her, wanted to save his daughter. That afternoon, Jack and Vera set a trap. Want to get rid of those mutants, because they are sure that these monsters will attack again. Notice that someone broke through the line of defense. Jack is ready to shoot, but didn't find anyone nearby. Noticed that the mother's body is missing. He asked Vera to lock himself in the tow truck, then go out to check the surrounding situation. Following the blood on the ground, Jack found his mother, but saw that Jupiter was licking his body. At this time, this mutant got up and chased him. Jack ran back to the tow truck. Although he was shot a few times, Jupiter is still chasing, also threw the crane out of the way. Jack barely dodged when he rushed into the tow truck, seeing his sister opening the gas, ready to blow up this car. At this time, that mutant broke through the window, want to catch Vera. Jack helped his sister get out, also tied up the enemy's arm, let him trapped in the tow truck. Then, the two brothers jumped out of the window and ran away. After Jupiter released the shackles, opened the tow truck door, there was an explosion. This mental pervert died painfully. Carl crossed the mountain, finally caught up with Ruby. You immediately handed the child over. However, when he was about to hold his daughter, but was attacked by she, Carl had to fight back again. After avoiding a few attacks, he was finally forced to a dead end, but he took the opportunity to hold on to Lennon, the wound on this monster's leg. At this time, she knocked him down on the ground, hit his head hard on the ground. Ruby realized that her brother was going to kill Carl, so she ran away with the baby. She followed up. At the same time, Carl took the opportunity to get up, used the gun to hit this mutant. After knocking down the opponent, he pulled the trigger, opened the gun and killed she. See this monster still breathing. Carl put down the gun, hold up Kesselin, but Ruby found her brother still alive. See him reach out to get the gun, want to kill Carl and the baby. The girl rushed over to stop him. At this time, Ruby and this monster rolled down the hill together. Neither of them could survive. Vera found that Jupiter was still alive, hit his head hard, completely killed this mental pervert. Then, he saw Carl holding Kesselin, walked over. Jack thought he saw them alive, and let it go. The two brothers rushed over to welcome them, unable to survive the attack. However, these people don't know yet. The battle of survival is not over. There are people hiding in the mountains, watching them. Alright, that's all for today's video. If you are interested in this movie, why don't you go and see the original film? If you think my explanation is good, please give me a like. Your support is the biggest motivation for me to continue to create. See you next time.